Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is the relativity of time. And I just find it fascinating how some situations time flies and it just feels like no time has passed for memories from years and years ago, and other times we just can't remember what we did yesterday, or things that are recent just feel like they were long ago. So anyway, we get to talk about the relativity of time today, and as always, it should be an interesting conversation with you. I'm looking forward to it. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, or fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel the deliciousness of that sensation and the tickling, the tingling, the softness or the texture. And as you allow yourself to become present to that remarkable sensation, let's appreciate the miracle of our physical form through which we experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to be here with you as always. I so appreciate our time together every day, every weekday morning. So today we're talking about the relativity of time. And what this brought, how this came up for me this morning is I am really blessed to have the support of a professional organizer to be weeding through the many things I've collected over the past 20 plus years, well, over a lifetime, I guess, right? And so some of the things that I have are old media drives that have my portfolio from when I went to art school. And on that portfolio, there were several projects that I did that involved my new nephew at that time. Well, he was a couple years old. And so I know that this was like 1998. So you can imagine that we don't have the same media drives. Good morning, Gia. So good to have you here with us this morning. It's great to see you here. Welcome. We're talking about the relativity of time. So anyway, I have on some of these drives, my portfolio, probably most of it is not even readable because it's such old versions of the applications. The output wasn't universal format for a number of these things. But anyway, there are some pieces that are related or built around my nephew. And as I think back, when I realized that, oh my gosh, these files, this whole thing happened in 1997 and 1998, it's a real wake-up call because it feels, certain aspects of it certainly feel like yesterday. And it made me start thinking about how so many of our memories feel present in the moment, and other things feel so far away. And the experience of time is a very subjective and relative experience. At least that's what is coming to my awareness. And it's very interesting because in some respect, I can recognize that time doesn't exist, that the past and the future don't exist. All that exists is this moment right here, right now. And what we bring into this moment from our past, from memories, from our past experiences, we are bringing those experiences forward into this moment. And when we consider that, we do also bring our future into this moment. And there are ways that we can utilize that capability even more effectively, creatively, generatively, if we imagine our future self, if we can presence ourselves to our future self. And this is such a cool technique. If we can presence ourselves to our future selves, then we can allow ourselves to be advised by that future self. We can allow ourselves to be inspired, directed, evolved by our future selves. So if we can imagine ourselves in a situation in the future, carrying on with grace and elegance through whatever the circumstances, then we can bring that information from the future, which is in our imagination. This is a wonderful word that I'm hearing more often, imaginal, the imaginal space, like a liminal space, but imaginal space where we imagine our future. We can bring back the information from that space into our present. And if we can conceive of ourselves being, let's say you have fear of public speaking, for example. Let's say you can imagine yourself at a podium speaking to a room of tens of thousands of people, or an audience, a crowd of tens of thousands of people, and just being poised and articulate and connected, and just reveling in the experience, and communicating effectively, and speaking your truth to the world with grace and dignity and elegance. Then, like, as I'm even speaking that, I'm feeling it, I'm embodying it. And we have the ability to shift our experience. It's not just a mental exercise, because what happens is we engage our emotions, we engage our life force in these kinds of exercises, and it's transformative. It's transformative because we are presencing it in our bodies right here, right now. And that's the same dynamic that happens when we remember traumatic experiences as well, unless we do something to modify that experience. So when we go back and we remember, like we reassemble these experiences from the past, we embody them because we feel the emotions associated with them. And then we end up re-experiencing the trauma and embedding that trauma again in the present moment. So because where it exists is in what we bring forth to the present. So it's very interesting to me. I know we've spoken about this before, but the mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. And so we can be creating memories of the future. If we vividly imagine our future, we can create vivid memories that we embody. And then those memories, and that the word memory is in air quotes, but then we can embody the experience of being in front of that crowd and being connected, for instance, and speaking eloquently and elegantly and from a place of rich connection. So we get to utilize our relationship to time in a way that we don't normally consider or entertain. When we look at events of the past, what we're doing is we are presencing that experience in the moment. And that's why it's so powerful. That's why reframes are so powerful, because we can look at an event in the past, we're bringing it into the present. When we can create a new context for those experiences, it does shift our memory. It shifts the emotional impact of the memory. So as an example, my nephew had cut himself, and pretty badly. And then he had an experience of PTSD from that. You know, like every time he thought about it, it just created tremendous anxiety. And how he was thinking about it was that there was all this blood gushing all over the place, and it was horrifying. And so this was a past event that he was presencing himself to over and over and over again. And what I suggested to him is that in his imagining of the event, rather than having it be in vivid, vibrant color with all this blood going everywhere, that he make it a black and white image. And as he made it a black and white image, it denatured it. It de-emphasized the power of that event for him. I just want to make a note that if I'm not responding to your comments, it's because I don't see them. So far, I've had one comment from Gia, but I'm not seeing any other comments. So please don't think that I'm ignoring you. I'm not. I'm not seeing anything else. Anyway, our play, that was playing with a representation. Oh, he's good. Thank you. Gia said, oh, how is he? He's fine. This happened a long time ago. I apologize. I just was using it as an example. I really appreciate your asking how he is. He's doing great, in fact, really great. So it's very exciting to see what his life is opening up for him. Anyway, the whole conversation really was prompted by my thoughts of my nephew. So Gia says, I want to know more about him and your role in healing him. I didn't heal his cut. I just helped him with his trauma around it, you know, by simply asking him if he was, you know, what this experience was for him as he was remembering it, because he told me he had PTSD from it. And so I said, well, are you seeing it in color? Because when we shift the submodalities, when we shift the some of the aspects of our perception, we shift the experience, right? So if we're experiencing blood gushing everywhere, and it's vivid and bright and colorful, and it makes it that much more real, maybe even hyper real, it's really crisp and clear, for example, in our memory. If we shift those qualities with which we're perceiving something, we shift our experience of that event. And oh, it wasn't suicidal. Okay, so Gia says, so happy to know someone could heal from suicidal tendencies. Needing to hear this now from you, Mira. So Gia, if you're talking about suicidal tendencies, please reach out to people that can support you. I can tell you that I thought about suicide for the better part of my life. And when I was 40, I actually had decided, okay, this is it, I'm done. And I realized that I had finally decided, really, let me back up, because I spent most of my life exceedingly depressed, that clinically depressed. I probably could have been committed at one time or another, for depression. And at one point, I never tried to commit suicide, because I knew that if I were going to do it, I would do it. And the only thing at the time that stopped me was a strong conviction, a strong belief that we don't die when we die. Like, that's not the end of us. And I didn't want to have to come back and do it over. I didn't want to have a do-over. I figured, okay, if this is it, let's make I decided, like, let's make this the last lifetime. Let's just do it. Let's wrap it up, tie a bow on it, and that'll be that. And I don't know if that is true, as far as the way that the universe exists, or if we come back, if we don't get it right the first time, we keep coming back. I don't know if that's true, but anyway, that's what kept me from doing it for the longest time. But then at one point when I was 40, I said, okay, I've had enough. And I decided I was going to go to my storage space, and that's where I was going to have my last moments. And in that moment of decision, I had what I call a moment of grace. And that moment of grace was that I recognized that I had made that decision, and there was a part of me that was able to step back from that and say, okay, I need some help. And I actually went and found someone to do counseling with me, and it gave me permission, coming that close to a decision to take my own life. It gave me permission to do, I gave me permission to do what I wanted to do in life, despite what other people might think. So I gave myself permission to have a life that was expressed by me, for me. And that's when I decided to go back to art school and to study computer animation and multimedia. And that was one of the biggest steps on the path of taking ownership of my own life that I've ever made. And I can't say that that was the end of depression for me, but I can say that it was the beginning of a road back. And regarding working with people, I have worked with people who have been suicidal as well and seen them come back as well. So I've seen remarkable transformations in people who really were not people who had attempted suicide, like that were on the brink of okay, now's the day I'm going to go cut my wrists. But I have worked with a number of people with suicidal ideation, people who are thinking about dying, people who are thinking about ending their lives and coming back from that place. So I can tell you that it's possible. And I can tell you that since that time when I had decided to commit suicide, I have lived the richest part of my life since that time. And the foundational transformation occurred in my willingness to choose the life that I really desired. Like my depression was largely a result of trying to live life for other people, to live life according to other people's rules, to live life based on my perception of what other people wanted from me and for me, rather than what my soul called to do. So it was a transformation for me, a movement from denying my beingness, trying to be something else, and feeling not only unacceptable, but that I myself felt that who I was unacceptable. And I think in choosing, in facing my death, I thought, well, wait a second, I get to be me. If I'm going to be here, I might as well be doing something that lights me up. I might as well be doing something. What would it be like? What would life be like if I actually did something? If I actually spent my life aligned with what I desired, what I wanted, what I was drawn to, what I was inspired by. And that's a movement into life rather than away from life. So the life that I was living didn't feel like my own. It didn't feel like an expression of myself. It felt like I was trapped. And there have been a couple times in my life where I've given myself permission to follow my heart, to follow my passion, to follow my dreams, despite the judgment and opinions and pressures from others. And I think it takes courage for us to do that. And on some level, I didn't have a choice. It was either, we always have choice, and on some level there was no choice, because it was do it or die for me. Because I really truly just had no will to continue living in the way that I was living. Good morning, Dennis. So good to have you here this morning. You are so funny and so sweet. I really appreciate your good mornings. Anyway, we were talking about the relativity of time, and we got onto the subject of moving beyond, or healing from, or transformation from suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And I think we get to make the decision to own our lives And if our lives are not fulfilling to us, then we get to decide to change it. You know, for me, the pain of living was so extreme, living this life that I was living for other people, or for my interpretation of what other people wanted from me, or really the constraints that I was imposing upon myself based on the way that I perceived other people's approval or disapproval. Um, the life that I had created for myself was so restrictive and stifling that it was killing me anyway, you know, and I really truly felt like I was walking through life as the walking dead. And Gia, I'm glad that you're finding value out of this conversation. And so what was the point? You know, I was trotting through Gia, you're really kind. Thank you for that. Gia says, I'm so thankful to you for sharing it so honestly. You're such a role model. Well, I don't know if I'm a role model, but I can just say that I've been through the fire in many ways and come out the other side. And it's not to say that there aren't times when I feel depressed, or when I feel like, you know, I like the battles are too large, but for the most part I can say that I'm creating life to be fun for me. I'm creating life as an adventure that I get to generate, and the limits that I have in life are my limits. And when it gets to a point where it's not fulfilling, then, you know, I will either change it or exercise another choice. But I think it's so important for us to take ownership of our lives and the quality of our lives, and to make the choice. And as I said, it takes courage, but what other option do you have? You know, it's to live life or to endure life. And I don't see a whole lot of point in enduring life. I just don't. And I did it for years and years until I got to the point where I just said, this is a creative moment. Each moment is a creative moment. It's something that we get to generate. And choose a game that is fulfilling. Because in some respects, I believe, and it's not like it's true, but again, a working hypothesis. Thank you, Dennis. You're very kind. Gia's saying that that this is a motivation and inspiration, and Dennis is saying you're an inspiration, and I really appreciate that from you guys. I just want you to know I'm just sharing what my experience has been, in hopes that perhaps you'll find it useful. You know, perhaps it will land for you in a way that allows you a transition to a richer experience of life. That's really the intention. And, you know, we really do have the capacity to do pretty darn near anything. And the thing that limits us is our conceptualization. So again, I've spoken this before, but I had the privilege of volunteering at an event for a week with the Dalai Lama in Allentown, Pennsylvania, some years ago. And the biggest takeaway I took was that all suffering is a result of false conceptualization. And the way that the context within which we interpret life is the source of our joy or our suffering. And so we get to shift that context. It's not like it exists outside of us. It doesn't. We believe what we believe to be real, but that doesn't make it real. It doesn't make the way we see things the way that they are. You know, we see things through our own internal filters, and that's something that we can't escape. We might have moments of transcendence where we step out of our identities, and that may give us closer access to the truth with a capital T. But for the most part, we're living in worlds of our own creation. And when we recognize that, when we allow ourselves the freedom to step out of the boxes we've created ourselves and into our dreamt possibilities, and I say dreamt meaning the things that we can dream of, to allow our dreams, to allow our expansion, that's where we can find fulfillment. And that's where we make our greatest contribution to ourselves, our families, our communities, our planet. And Dido says, I love what you said. Each moment is a creative moment. Choose a game that is fulfilling. I'm going to put that in a post-it by my computer. That's awesome, Dido. Thank you for that. Because I do believe that this is a game, you know, even maybe it's some kind of virtual reality construct, but we get to pick our game. You know, we get to make it up. We are making it up every day. We're making it up every minute. We just don't realize it. So what if we made it up to be enriching and filled with fulfillment and contribution and joy? And it's just remembering that we're making up the game. So let's make it a great game. You know, we can have it be one of heroes and villains and drama. We can have it be one of global transformation, you know, and anything in between. So I think that's it for this morning. So good as always to be with you guys and to have these conversations. It's an inspiration to me, and I'm really grateful to you for the opportunity. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Please check out the other awesome programming on EWN One with the Earth, EWN I think it's Enlightened Living, and of course the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. So much love to you guys, and until next time.